are you today? It's good to see you. I'm so glad that you're here. What's the common thread running through all of your books? You know you have one, right? Knowing what it is and intentionally including it in all of your projects without overpowering that specific books or presentations message, excuse me, strengthens both your overall message and your ties to your ideal audience, your ideal target market. Hi, I'm Patricia Durgan, the Christian Message Coach, and this is Marketers on a Mission. We present marketing tutorials and interviews to help Christian writers and speakers take their message online. This is episode number 112. Your platform is broader than a single book with my guest, Dawn Kinzer. Hello, Dawn. How are you?
Hi. Good afternoon.
I'm so glad that you could join me today. I want to introduce you for just a moment. You are a writer, obviously. You've got a trilogy out. The third book in the trilogy just recently published. You're a freelance editor. You have a business doing that. You have your own, you're also the co-host for Seriously Write, the blog for authors. You have a passion for fiction and for helping people learn, especially babies, which we'll get to in a moment, small children become storytellers and appreciate and understand stories. So we have a lot to talk about. I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you.
You said that you write to help people believe that God will help them in their difficult times. And that's important to you because you've had difficult times yourself, haven't you?
Sure have, yes. Yeah. I've gone through, my husband and I are very open and honest about some of the things that we've experienced. We both experienced divorce. And then shortly after we were married, we lost his 19-year-old daughter to kind of a freak car accident that sent us in quite a tailspin. Then we experienced job loss for him for several years due to layoffs at Boeing. Thousands of other employees were laid off. And then once he got back on, we also realized that he dealt with an alcohol issue. And so he went into a 30-day treatment facility and has been sober for 13 years. And so the first 3 years of our marriage, we went through quite a bit of struggle, but we just kept believing God was going to bring us through it, and he did. And we share that victory, that God can be there in the tough times and bring you through it.
And that's part of your overall thread of your message, your platform, isn't it? Which we'll get to later in more detail. I mean, that's part of it, isn't it?
It is, like that God's there. And I think hope is so important. Without hope, we can't have dreams. And without dreams, we kind of get to a point sometimes where we lose purpose. And without those things, I think despair and depression can set in for people. And so I just think hope is extremely important for people.
I so agree. Absolutely agree. I'm glad you said that. I'm going to make a quote about that. You'll be saying that again, Dawn. Words, creativity, and music have always been part of your life. You were a professional vocalist for 18 years in those younger days, weren't you?
Well, I wouldn't say professional, but I did serve on a worship team for many years. I sang in various groups in college. I was on a team that went and with two other guys, we were called Sunset Free. And during our college years, we went and provided services for churches around the area. After I was married, then I was on a worship team, contemporary worship team, for about 16 years. And at the point where I've kind of been taking a break from that and just sitting and enjoying the music at this point. Kind of needed it.
Yes. So you foresee that you're not finished with that at all.
No, I love music. Music's always been a big part. I took 10 years of piano lessons. I learned how to play guitar. I've always been involved with music. My daughters have been involved with music. My oldest daughter is a professional performer in theater, a singer and actress. My other daughter also sings on a worship team. Music's a part of our lives in every aspect.
I wish it was more a part of my life, but I'm not talented in that area. So I'm the one that sits in the back and.
Okay. You still enjoy it though, so
Yeah.
it's a part of your life. Yeah.
Everybody has a part, don't they?
You're right. You don't need to be a performer to enjoy it.
I'm so glad to. I'm so glad. Thank
Yeah.
you for that, Laura. It sounds like, from what I'm reading about you online, it sounds like you grew up in an idyllic world. That's just so wonderful. And that's when my mouth doesn't want to cooperate with my brain, but we're going to get it together. That's when the days that going to the library was a big deal. It was a very exciting adventure. And you've passed that love on to your grandchildren, haven't you?
Right. Well, I grew up in a really small town called Prairie Farm in Wisconsin. There was about 500 people there. That's basically the population currently. So our days, as children, were spent riding bike, climbing trees. There weren't a lot of other activities. It was a farming community. So although I lived in town, a lot of kids lived on the farm. They had, their chores and things that they did. But for me, my excitement was going down to the local library, which is a small little room held in the fire station. And it was a revolving library. So the librarian would go to a larger town, get books, bring new ones in. So we had a variety of new treats. And that was just the most exciting thing for me in the summer. And I would stack up on books and spend my summers out under the trees, just escaping and going into a variety of other worlds.
Yes. And you have, is it 2 or 3 grandchildren?
I have 3 grandchildren and one on the way.
One on the way. Okay, that was what I was missing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they all love books. They all do. The 2 that are local, the oldest is 4, and his little sister will be 2 in December. And then I have another 2-year-old little granddaughter who just absolutely adores books, and she's out of state. And is expecting a sibling. But yeah, my 4-year-old grandson loves to have books read to him, but even more so, he loves to be told stories. So we sit down and we make up stories, and he loves to, have us included in them. So he's Rohan Dinosaur, I'm Nana Dinosaur, because he's so big on dinosaurs. And we go on our little adventures. And I try to encourage him to participate and help make up the story as we go along.
It sounds like fun. You must be a good grandmother.
Oh, thank you. I try. I love it. I love being a grandmother. It's the best thing in the world.
What do you love most about it? Can you pinpoint one thing?
Oh my gosh. I think as a grandparent, you can spoil, and you can just focus more on mentoring. And just enjoying that fun time with them and seeing things through their eyes again. When you're a parent, you're so involved in all the different aspects of raising them. But when you're a grandparent, you can see through their eyes the magical things again. And my husband and I just love being able to, go to the zoo and go to the playground and just all those fun things that it's kind of like being a kid again in some ways.
Mm-hmm. I like the word mentoring that you've used. That's the first time I've heard that specific word as from a perspective of grandparenting. Okay. And I think it captures it beautifully.
Yeah, I really think grandparents have an awesome opportunity to mentor because if you develop that relationship with your grandchild, sometimes I think they're more willing to listen to other adults as opposed to parents. So it's a great opportunity.
True, it's true. You want to inspire the next generation of storytellers. Now, do you want to do that only with your grandchildren or a broader base, Dawn?
I haven't thought about it in a broader base, to be honest. You're referring probably to an article I recently wrote where I was sharing with other authors in terms of what can we do as parents and grandparents to kind of instill storytelling within our children, because although there's so many technical things, there's so many things to interest kids these days, which is great. But how do we spur that activity? Where are the next storytellers going to come from? And what can we do to instill that love of books and storytelling? And so I just started to share some of the things that I do with my grandson to kind of help give ideas to other parents and grandparents to do the same.
Okay. But in order to tell a story, you're engaged on a different level than any in a regular conversation, aren't you?
Yes, because you have to let your imagination go. And so I'm an introvert, and I know that I've always, as I was growing up, thought of as being very reserved. But when it comes to storytelling with my grandson, I become a child again. I'm able to let go. I've learned, and that's another thing with grandchildren. It's kind of like once you get to this age, you kind of let some of that, I don't know, some of those barriers go and allow yourself to be more free. At least I found that for myself. And so with storytelling, not just telling the story in a monotone voice, but I try to be very animated, use expressions, vocal tones, movements, so that the story becomes alive for him and he gets excited and he becomes animated and he enters that world that we're creating together. So it's actually been a really freeing thing for me as well to start doing with him. So yeah, it's fun.
Like a very personal time that he's going to remember from now on.
I hope so. I think so.
Yeah. Nice. Let me check and see if we have any questions or comments on Facebook.
Sure.
Melinda Inman says, hello, Dawn.
Hello.
She read the article that you're referring to, and she just thought it was great. So good. That's good. Thanks for that feedback, Melinda. Let me check one other thing. And tell us about your books. Now you've got one trilogy out, and I'm wondering about something. Pretend that your book. Wait a second. Your book covers are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Absolutely stunning.
Thank you. I'm absolutely thrilled with them as well. My cover designer is Lynette Bonner. She is a local author and a friend of mine, and she has been creating wonderful book covers. So if anyone is needing book covers, contact me and I can connect you. So
I'm very interested in that. Thank you so much for telling us that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Book covers they just really are. They're more important than we initially think they are when we get into the Christian writing field, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm a visual person, and so for me, book covers are very impactful. The story can maybe look interesting, but if the book cover isn't intriguing to me, or I may pass on it and go to something else. So for me, book cover is extremely important.
They are to me as well, especially as just a person who has the same love of books that you have and going to the library. My family moved either every 12 months or every 18 months.
Wow.
All my life with my birth family. So to every chance we went to another city, there was another library with more books.
Home away from home, huh? Right.
Yes, absolutely. And the trilogy takes place in the early 1900s. Now, you mentioned, or you describe it as Christian historical romance. So pretend that I don't know what that means and explain it to me. I'm a reader and I'm looking at that. I see that description and I'm thinking, what does that mean? How is this going to be a different book?
So for Christian historical romances, obviously it's a romance set back some years, but in terms of the Christian, there's a spiritual message that's woven into it. So it's not a preachy type of book, but along with other themes in the book and struggles, characters also have internal spiritual struggles. Like, for instance, Sarah's Smile deals with the theme of forgiveness. And there are three aspects of forgiveness: forgiving others, accepting forgiveness, and accepting forgiveness from others, but also forgiving ourselves sometimes. So it kind of delves into those three aspects of forgiveness. But the other theme that is in Sarah's Smile is finding purpose in your own backyard. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to as well. So that's kind of the difference. There's always a little bit of a spiritual aspect to it as well that hopefully will encourage people. And again, it goes back to that hope, giving people hope.
Mm-hmm. So two of them were published in 2016?
Correct.
1 month apart.
Yes.
How does that happen? How does that work? Did you market them together? Was that intentional?
That was very intentional. And the intention was to have the third book out within a short amount of time, within 6 months from that. But sometimes life steps in, and it took a lot longer to get the third book out. But it was intentional because as a new author, I wanted readers, if they got engaged in the first book, to not have to wait a full year and then another full year. So readers who read the first book wanted to get into the second book. And I found that a lot of authors are doing that. And what I did was I waited till I had both books completely written so that I could release them quickly together. And I was in the process of writing the third book. And so, like I said, life stepped in, which it does sometimes.
Yes.
But yeah, I wanted readers to have that satisfaction of being able to continue the series. And although each book can be read as a standalone, readers do find characters from book one that kind of, they'll see them in all three books. And so by book three, they've pretty much become very invested in the characters and their lives. And I've been told book three has been a satisfying ending in terms of seeing how characters have developed and what's happened over the course of a few years.
Did you, did you lose or have to rebuild your audience that gathered to you and your message for the first two books, and then there was that period of time before the third one came out?
I don't think so. I was afraid of that, but I think what I discovered was that once readers had read the first two books, they became so invested that they were anxious for book three. And that's what they were telling me. They were looking forward to it. It kind of helped build momentum in terms of anticipation for the third book and what was going to happen to some of the characters. And but yeah, that was definitely a fear that I would lose audience.
And you couldn't do anything different. I mean, as you say, life got in the way. So there was you weren't eating bonbons and watching old movies.
No, it wasn't part of my strategy at all. It's just, that's the way it happened.
I know that character development is so very important to you, and you even teach that and refer to that in other places. Give us some insights as to why that's so important, or did you have a mentor help you develop that? Did the Holy Spirit guide you? How did that develop into such a strong strength for you?
I've had several critique partners over the years, Oceana Fleiss and Annette Irby, who are both excellent writers, authors, published authors. We've been critique partners for probably 13, 14, 15 years. I lose track at this point. They have helped me grow. I've been a member of the American Christian Fiction Writers for many years. I've had a lot of mentors. Sandra Bird, who is another awesome author, has helped mentor me. Northwest Christian Writers here in the Seattle area. I've had a lot of help with other authors teaching. Through the years, you go to workshops, you attend conferences, you read books. But for me too, in terms of characterization, it is important to me that characters do develop, they do go through their struggles. That's one thing you learn in writing, is that when a character starts out in a book, they need to have some internal and external conflicts. And how are you going to have them overcome that? And in a Christian book, they also have spiritual conflicts, spiritual lies that they need to face and overcome. And that all those things help make a book interesting and exciting. Without those conflicts, the books are going to be boring. Readers want to have something to cheer for. They want to see things resolved. They want to see problems overcome. And I think that helps give readers again hope that they can also overcome those types of conflicts.
Because the people who are reading your books and other books of any kind, they're living in they have conflicts, they have challenges that they're living with, struggling with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if they can see themselves within the book, and follow the course, they may not do everything exactly the same, but as they see themselves in those characters, I think they learn a lot about themselves as well.
That's very wise. Excuse me. While I go check Facebook again, would you tell us, did you start all of this process at a writer's conference? Was it a mentor? How did that work, that you went from a singer and so forth and a mom and so forth? How did that happen?
As I've been trying to figure out my own purpose, basically, I struggled for years. And I tried different things and I did well with different things, but I'm also a creative person and I just was not finding the right niche until a number of years ago, I was involved with youth drama at my church. And I was challenged along with a friend to write a play for our teen drama group. And once we sat down, we wrote not only one, but 3 full-length plays. And I discovered that was it. I was in heaven. I'd written for a number of years growing up. I'd always write stories. I wrote stories and articles in college that got published in the school newspapers, but I just never felt I was good enough. And so that was just kind of a little hobby. Mm-hmm. And so when I found that writing really fulfilled what I was really looking for, then I thought, well, I'm just going to write a book. I'm going to write a novel just to see if I can do it. I was going to challenge myself. And once I started doing that, and then I think it was just God. God was kind of opened up some doors where I started to learn about these other organizations and got connected with people, and it just went from there. And it was no turning back. No turning back. I was hooked. That was my happy place.
Nice. Isn't it wonderful to be able to express what we're gifted at?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So let me check over here. I'll tell you what people are saying. Sylvia says, good planning, Dawn. She's over on my Facebook page and on the profile. Gail is here, Gail Johnson. Melinda Inman says, Dawn's books are superb.
Thank you, Melinda.
Gail says that she loves your stories.
Thanks, Gail. Yeah, my supporters, my cheering section.
Nice. Kathy R. Green, she's going to be my guest tomorrow. Hey, Kathy, ahead of time. She's here. Pamela Bruder says, beautiful book covers. Yes.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Pamela.
Oh, and she says all 3 depict your characters. So.
Correct, yeah.
Right. I'm very interested in getting the name of that book designer cover, and for her and every resource viewers that we're mentioning you don't have to just try to scribble things down. Those links will be added above the video after this episode is over. Let's see if we have any others. Melinda also agrees that the covers are beautiful. She also agrees that mentoring is the perfect word for grandparents. Yes. Commenting on how multi-talented you are. Nice.
Oh, thank you.
Now, in 2011, you kept the writing hat on, the author hat, and you also started in the editing business. Tell us about that.
I'm a freelance editor. I work from home. It's called Faithfully Write Editing. I started it because I discovered while working with my 2 critique partners that I really enjoyed the editing process. Even now when I write, the first draft kills me. It just kills me. But I love to go back and rewrite and tweak and fine tune, and I love the editing process. And realizing that while I was at a conference, another friend who had decided to move into editing suggested that I do as well. And so I started to contemplate that. And so I took about a year to really get my foundation, make sure that I took some editing classes, learned how to set up a business. And after a year, and I was getting enough work that I was doing my day job and coming home and working every night till midnight to keep up with the editing, my husband said, I think you need to give your notice and do this full time. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. I have a great supportive husband. So that started it. And it's just grown and grown and grown. And I really love the editing process and helping other authors. And I try to do a lot of teaching while I edit as well, so that they're also learning during the process. And
not every editor does that, do they?
Excuse me?
Not every editor does that thorough a job.
No, not everyone does. A lot do, but I just feel, in fairness to the author, it doesn't make sense for me to go in and tell them what to do and not explain why. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I do. I try to always explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I try to encourage them, to learn along the way, and I offer suggestions and direction, and try to help make their writing the best it can be without doing it for them.
Yes. I would think that approach would really give you a very loyal base.
It's worked out really well for me. I have authors that do continue to return and ask for my help. I'm very a laid-back kind of person, and I try to be as honest as I can be, but I'm also very encouraging. I think that's so important as an editor. It's important for any author. It's hard to hear that maybe your writing isn't as good as you think it is. I have an editor for my books because we can't see where things are lacking in our own work. We're just too close to it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important to receive also encouragement. What are they doing right? And again, mentor, a lot of mentoring.
Viewers, if you are, my thought just escaped me, but you also serve both fiction and nonfiction. Isn't that authors? Isn't that right, Dawn?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, and the link will be above, as I mentioned earlier. I think
Sure.
Sylvia had something to say. Let me peek over here again, see if Sylvia had something. I thought I saw her name, but let me check and see. Mm-hmm. Oh, here we are. She's sharing. Thank you very much, Sylvia. She was sharing the information about the book cover designer. So perfect.
Oh, yes.
So it's shared on both
Thanks,
locations.
Sylvia.
Good job, everybody. Thanks very much.
She knows the cover designers.
They're really lovely. Did you stumble upon her? Was she a friend previously?
We both belong to Northwest Christian Writers Association here in the Seattle area, and we became friends. And I learned a lot from her in terms of independent publishing. And then when she was doing covers, I was just so impressed with what she was doing. I approached her, and we came up with some ideas together, and they've just been spectacular. So I've gotten many compliments on them. And so I refer people to her all the time.
And she does allow you to give input on them then.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The thing with covers too, with the series, you want them to be different, but you want them to look like they belong to a series.
Yes.
And so what I would do is I would give her a picture of a character, the main character. We would, kind of take a look at that. And then I said, in all three books, there's a flower of significance. And because I was trying to come up with ideas of how we could tie the books in together. And we decided to go with the flower of significance. And so we have a character that reflects how I see the character, a picture of the character, how I see them. I've got the covers here. Is that okay to show them?
Yes, please do. Please, yes.
I'll quick do that.
I'm glad you mentioned it.
Since we're talking about it. Okay.
Yes.
So
This is the first one.
First one, Sarah's Smile. So the character, and the flower significance is a lilac, and she did it in blue and kind of a purple. The second one is Hope's Design. The flower significance is a daisy. And then Rebecca's song, the last one that came out, is the zinnia. And so they, like I said, they're all different, but yet there's something similar so that people can look at them and, you know, they look like a series.
Yes, yes. I think that's really important. And other, I mean, that's a given, but not every author knows to do that.
Yeah.
It's normal, but we don't all know everything that's normal, do we? There are too many things to keep up with as it is.
Yes, most definitely.
One of the things that when you and I were talking about you being my guest, I was really struck by, because you were singing my song, Dawn, and you said that your platform is broader than any single book. I'm a big proponent of that. Why do you say that? What is your platform?
I realized that my platform was encouraging people to pursue their dreams and to find purpose in any season of life. Whether they're young or whether they're 80 years old, I truly believe we all have dreams that we still need to pursue. I don't think that age should be a factor in most cases unless it's something that's physically impossible. And I think we have purpose. You know, no matter where we are, what stage of life we're at. Like I said, for many years, I struggled with that myself. I was so desperate to make a difference in people's lives, and I just couldn't seem to. I'd find things that would, you know, for a couple of years that felt right, and then it just didn't feel right anymore. And so I wanted to encourage people to do that. So you'll find in my books, for the most, you know, and this started to come out without me even realizing it. Actually, as I started to write, it just came out naturally because it's such a part of me. Yes. And so, like Sarah's Smile has the theme of finding purpose in your own backyard. Hope's Design has that theme of pursuing your dream, no matter how difficult it gets. And sometimes sometimes it takes longer for those dreams to come to fruition. Yes. But it's still important for us to use our God-given gifts, and what is our responsibility with that. The third book, Rebecca's Song, is that sometimes our dreams come true in unexpected ways, ways that we don't expect. And so those things have just kind of organically kind of happened in the stories. And when I realized that that was kind of where my passion was, at the time I was writing a blog, and I'd write about, you know, a variety of different things. And so I switched the purpose of the blog over to, it's called The Garden of Dreams. And I started writing articles for several years that just strictly focused on finding purpose, pursuing your dreams. And I wrote about all different types of things pertaining to those things. And I also included guest authors, or not necessarily authors, but anybody who I felt had pursued their dream and had found it, right, to be an encouragement to other people. At the same time, again, I'm a visual person. I love visual arts. So I really enjoy creating the memes. And so I would create memes that would have Bible verses or would have inspirational sayings pertaining to hope or finding purpose. And I started posting those on Instagram and posting them on Facebook and on my blog and Pinterest. And so that was another way in terms of carrying over my my platform. And then the other thing I did was, as an author, you are sometimes invited to do guest interviews on blogs, or like, you know, live interviews like today. And that's given me another opportunity to, even though I talk about my books or I talk about other things within the interview, oftentimes there are opportunities to also share that platform with readers. So I've tried to pretty much in every aspect of my life, that's what I do. With my friends, with my family, I encourage them to do the same. And I can't say I had anything to do with this because I don't know if it was his parents or preschool or what, but I had we had our grandkids over the last couple of days and for a couple overnights. And I was putting my 4-year-old grandson to bed, and we were laying in bed talking, and he said, out of the blue, he goes, Nana, I can do anything I want to. And Nana, you can do anything you want to. And I was like, oh my goodness, he gets it. He gets it. He's 4. So that was so exciting for me.
Yes.
You know, it's just how I try to live my life right now is I try to encourage people to, you know, don't give up hope on your dreams. Just keep pursuing them.
And excuse me, we don't have to chase them down. We don't have to create something there. It's already planted within us by God, isn't it?
I really believe so. Yes.
He's going to line up with what he's already doing in our life and the conversations we have and the people that we coincidentally run into instantly, the needs and the questions that they have. These are all very important, and it doesn't have to be in the professional world. Can be, but it's not strictly professional.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So the 5 things that you do, first of all, you know what your platform is of hope and encouragement. Then you share it intentionally, number 2. Number 3, you changed the name of your blog and the focus of it.
Right.
4, you created, and those memes are outstanding.
Oh, thank you.
Even though I'm vision impaired, I'm also very visually oriented. And I'm just so impressed with those memes. They're beautiful and they're so informative. I mean, they've just got the good mix. They're very beautiful. And you created 90 of them. That's a lot, Dawn.
90, yeah. It's I couldn't believe when I went back and counted them. I thought, oh my goodness.
That's a lot. And then you include your platform in your interview, and as you say, it just ekes out of you, doesn't it? It's just a natural part of who you are.
It is.
And lastly, you include encouraging snippets in your newsletter. So
yes,
everywhere you go, and you don't have to have a placard, do you? It just included very gently, very subtly. It's just part of your character and your message.
I hope so. Yes.
And it can be that smooth for other authors, writers, speakers. It can be that smooth. It doesn't have to be something that's an additional burden, but recognizing what is already there.
Right. I think just taking that time to figure out what are you passionate about? What's really coming through your writing naturally?
Yes.
And then take it from there.
Let it breathe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check Facebook one more time. I think Sylvia's on it again. Let's see. Let me refresh that page.
Sure.
I don't see anything there, so maybe I misunderstood what I thought I saw. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Melinda. She has asked me to share the link to your blog with all those great memes. So number 1, I always share the links to all the resources that we mentioned. I share that after the episode is over. But let me ask you, Dawn, is that where we would go to see do you have a place where they're cumulatively all together that we could see them?
So if you go to the main blog page that's up, I've taken a break from writing articles because once again, life has stepped in. Mm-hmm. So, but on the main page, I have a list. I have a link to the page where if you are looking for articles pertaining to purpose, that'll take you to a page where there is a link in a description of each article so you can peruse it quickly, find what you're looking for. The same with articles about pursuing your dreams, the same with guest articles. And so then the memes, the easiest place to find them is on Pinterest, but there's a link to my Pinterest page.
On your website?
On my blog, yes. On the blog, on that main first page where all those links to where you can find the page to easily find the articles, there's a link to my Pinterest page, and you'll find them all in a group there.
I know that cumulatively must be very dynamic, a very dynamic collection.
Oh.
And that is dawnkinzer.com. So even though the link will be above, it's her name.com. That's where you can find everything that she's just referencing.
Well, that's my author website. However, my blog is on a separate site. The blog is actually www.dawnkinzer.blogspot.com.
Okay.
But if you land on my actual author website, there are tabs where you can pop over to my blog very easily.
Okay. I actually did that and didn't realize I was moving from one to the other. So that's good because I normally pay attention to that stuff and would have noticed that.
Well, they have a similar theme, and so it can look like you're on the same site, but they're two separate sites connected.
And that's the master plan, isn't it? So nobody really knows.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to trick anybody, but that's just a marketing tactic.
Just trying to be consistent.
Yes, yes. Let's see. Pamela says inspiring encouragement. Let's see what else we've got here. Melinda says, I love the way that Dawn handles her editing business. That she adds mentoring is so helpful. Kathy says, wonderful, very helpful to the author. And Kathy is a publishing consultant. So who knows where that might lead? That might be a future conversation there.
Yeah.
And then Gail Johnson again says, I love the way that you edit, Dawn. You teach while you edit.
Thanks, Gail.
Gail also loves the editing process. I think that's everything. Let me just check because I don't want to miss anybody. They've been nice enough to be here. I think we've got everybody. Now, viewers, you are welcome to continue to comment, ask a question, praise Dawn, brag on her, give her feedback. You're welcome to do that even after the episode is over. Thank you so much, Dawn. You've been so informative, helpful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I got to go look at all those memes all together. I got to go check that out.
All right, you do that. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you very much for being with me. Thank you, viewers, for joining Dawn and me. This has been Marketers on a Mission, episode 112. Your platform is broader than any single book, with guest author Dawn Kinzer. Tomorrow, author and publishing consultant Kathy R. Green is going to join me. We're going to talk about her story, of course, her books, and then she's going to share the 6 steps to successful book sales. Woo! That's a lot of S's. I almost got tongue-tied on that one. Online marketing can be hard. It requires skills and knowledge that you've never needed to have before. You've never developed them. And now here all of a sudden it's supposed to be full blown. This show is designed to help you develop those very online marketing skills that you need so that your message can spread around the globe for Christ. Until tomorrow, I'm Patricia Durgan and Dawn Kinzer. We're here every day. I'm here every day, every weekday, 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. So mark your calendars and please join us. Thanks for being here.